2018, it's going to be a big year for me in pure rentals. What is the one thing that we should implement to help grow our PM business? Hi guys, Russell Peter here from PM Chat, and today I'd like to introduce you to our guest, Carl Crested from Agent Mail. Carl is really one of the experts in paper marketing, and if you're doing anything in these lines in the next 12 months, 2018, this is the guy you need to talk to. So welcome, Carl, and thanks for being on board.
Yeah, Russell, thanks for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity to chat to you and to your audience as well.
Excellent. Let's get started. I've got a number of questions. My first one is 2018. It's going to be a big year for me in pure rentals. What is the one thing that we should implement to help grow our PM business?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. It's same with marketing, I think, across the board. There is a number of ways to skin a cat. So I don't necessarily think there's one rule that applies to everyone. But one of the things I see, particularly in the property management space, that's missing is that education tool. I think some of the guys in the sales space do that quite well. But in property management, I think a lot of the education tools is a lot more focused on either the tenant or the investor getting the most out of their existing property. There's not enough information around, you've heard the saying before, it's much easier to get more business from an existing customer than it is to get business from a new customer. And so I read a stat, I think it was Michael Yardney put it out, but it's been around for a while, that about 70% of investors only own one property. So the question there is, why is it that once they get that first property, the momentum doesn't carry on to them investing in more properties? And I think it's a lack of information coming from the property management space. And there's an opportunity there for property managers to provide more education tools and more information around how to grow their asset base and their portfolio into a bigger portfolio, which in turn grows your business as well.
Yep, definitely. And the problem is we're already so busy. There's so much work we're already doing. How do we implement something else and talk about, how to get the second investment property? You start talking about brokers and, getting numbers and doing all these sort of things. I've spoken to a number of people regarding that. And I think the best way is, if you've got an investment property that an owner wants to sell, is to push that out to your current investors, because you already know the history of that property. You can tell them it's a good investment property or a bad investment property. And obviously, there is bad investment properties out there that owners sell. You don't push every single one, but I've got some properties that are about to sell that are 3-bedroom houses that have had all the maintenance done. I know what's happened in the last 2 or 3 years. I know what the issues are. I know it's had a termite inspection every 12 months. I know the roof doesn't leak. I know the pool is in good condition and doesn't cause me any issues. And I'm passing that off to a sales guy just to sell to an outside person. Yes, I may get that listing back, but you're right. To push that to my internal database, which we don't really do enough, is a great way to help grow our business. Paper-wise, though, what marketing should we be doing? Should I be doing a letterbox drop? Should I be doing direct mail? How should I be promoting my business to my local area? Should I be doing something weekly, monthly? How often, and what sort of results you're seeing?
Yeah, look, I think with property management, one of the areas that you sort of have to look at is the demographic breakdown of your investors. So what percentage of them are investors in the local area, and which one of them are interstate or, genuine absentee owners, where they are further away from the property than the local area? Because the problem you've got with letterbox dropping is your message is going to get missed by the people that actually own the property. Tenants aren't going to put those things aside to pass on to the owner. And owner-occupiers are not interested in information about investors. So letterbox dropping for me in property management sense has to have a real focus on the outcome. And if that is to get owner-occupiers, for example, to look at investing for the first time, then great. That's a good way. Letterbox dropping is a good way to do that. If it's to, update your investors about what's going on in the local area, probably not the most effective, use of the paper.
Yeah, I think personally, most owner-occupiers know their local agent, know who they're going to talk to. They see the signs, they drive past the office, these sort of things, and they'll make contact regarding that, or they'll Google property management in that suburb and then pick the top 2 results. I guess the main people that I'll be hitting are the people that are probably already under management with another agency. Sorry, guys. It's part of my business.
Fact of life.
I'll be talking to them as much as possible and trying to get them to come across to my business, especially in the current market in Brisbane, where the vacancy rates are at 4 or 5 weeks, and I'm finding even now that a lot of owners are starting to move or starting to get grumpy because they're not getting feedback and these sorts of things. So they're probably the people that early in 2018, I'll be hitting up. So the interstate investors or the investors that are, that already have the investment property and they're not happy with their current agent, they're probably the ones that I'm going to concentrate on mostly. Any sort of thoughts and plans on what I should be doing to get in front of these people?
Yeah, look, I know you sort of apologise there, but I think it's a fact of life that there is a number of property owners out there or investors out there right now that aren't happy with their current management service.
Yeah.
And the mistake is, it's the same in the sales world as well. The mistake is to sit there and think, well, if they're currently dealing with someone else, I need to sort of back away and just let them deal with it. The truth of the matter is, if someone is happy with their current management service, they're going to ignore your letter anyway. So it's only if you actually trigger something in them that says, you know what, that manager didn't deal with the last issue I had. They didn't sort of breach the tenant when they were late on their repayments or whatever it might be. So when you approach that person, I think you're doing a service by actually getting in touch with them. In terms of how to do it, I definitely think you have to be respectful. When you do mail out to them, and look, direct mail I think is perfect for absentee owners because you can access that information and send a letter out to them in an unobtrusive way. So direct mail works very well for that.
Yep.
What you do need to remember is at that point in time, you don't have an existing relationship with that person. So you do need to, I don't want to say dangle a carrot, but you need to sort of entice that person or incentivize them to make contact with you. Now, the two ways you can go about that is if you know that management is coming up for review, or the tenant has moved out into a vacant property or something like that, then obviously there's a prime opportunity to start that conversation. If it's just a general drop that you're doing to all investors in your area that might be in, 3 months into a 6-month management or whatever it might be, then it becomes about more value adding. So it's not sort of about dealing with the crisis situation right now. It's about how can you position yourself as the expert in the area so that when something does happen and something does go wrong, you're able to capitalize on that by being the person that's offered the most value.
So yeah, I guess hitting up those direct marketers is the market that I'm looking to hit. The investors that are currently already out there with an investment property. I've been doing this long enough. I haven't brought on a property yet where an owner's gone to me, I'm actually really happy with my current PM, but I'm just changing you because you're cheaper, or you sent me a letter, I thought I'd change. So there's always an underlying issue in the background why they're changing. And it's just a matter of hitting that owner at that right time. So you can't just hit them once and then go, oh, that owner hasn't come to me, and let it go. You've got to take the more sales approach, which is every 3 months or 6 months, at least send them something in the mail so that you're top of mind. So when that issue does arise with that other PM, you're the first person they contact. So what sort of budget? Like, let's say I'm in Lutwyche, Windsor now. I think there's 3,000 odd investors in my suburb. Yep. 3,000 letters a month will add up to be quite an expensive trip for me. But I'm guessing you would hit a certain market at a certain time. And is that something that you take care of, or is that something that I'd have to come to you and go, here is the list of ones I want to hit this month or next month, and then so forth? Or is there a structure that I should be taking into consideration when trying to hit these 3,000 investors twice over the course of 12 months?
Yeah, look, I definitely think that you need to structure that because you're right. 3,000 investors, if you hit them every month, it's a $4,500 investment. So it becomes an expensive exercise doing it without any sort of structured plan in place. Yeah. I think ideally you want to be trying to hit that investor, 4 times a year. Is really sort of the key time, because once every 3 months is enough to be top of mind without being a pain in the backside. Yep. And it's also enough to provide value that is relevant to that person. So I think that if you can do it once every 12 weeks, so if you break your that $4,500 down by $4,500 investment down by a 12-week cycle, all of a sudden you're looking at sort of more around sort of the $400 a week mark for the investment of that letter going out. What's really important, obviously, is to make sure that you're monitoring the results of that letter, but also that you don't pull the pin too quickly. I've seen a lot of people that will do, they'll basically hit that entire that entire 3,000 group up once, and then go, oh, I think, I only got 3 phone calls from it, I'm not doing it again. Like you said, it is all about timing. And it is all about being top of mind when that time comes for them to make the decision to change. So, yeah, you've got to think about the long game with all of this stuff, which is what property management is all about.
Definitely. And I think I spoke to a couple of sales agents a while ago, and it was a really interesting conversation where they said, you know, it might not put a sign up for every property that you manage, but anything that's on a main road in your area that all your investors that are going to drive past, your owner occupiers are going to drive past, that's where you have your signs. So at least they're seeing you at least 2 or 3 times a year when you've got a sign up in that main road. If it's the house is in a cul-de-sac, there's no point putting a sign up because you're only going to see 2 or 3 people. But if you're in one of your major roads or a thoroughfare, stick your sign up there. So at least the owners that are driving past that on a daily basis are seeing it once or twice a year. And I guess that kind of correlates into the same with paper marketing, is you've got to do it 2 or 3 times for them to actually be able to go, oh, this guy is around, I need to speak to him when I'm unhappy with my current property manager. So you're saying around 300 a week or 300 a month? You're saying...
So mailing out to around 300 a week if you wanted to hit all of your 3,000 investors across the course of a 12-week cycle. And to touch on your point there as well, Russell, what you just said, it's very funny how people look very granular and very black and white when it comes to marketing. And it's this dollar spent for this dollar returned today. I was speaking to an agent the other day who was talking about a direct mail campaign that he did, where he sent out 1,000 letters, at a cost of, he sort of did a bit more of a quirky thing where he actually sent some lumpy mail and things like that. Now, out of that, so it cost him about $2,000 all up. And out of that, he got one listing. And this is going back 4 or 5 years or so. But he said from that one listing, he can actually correlate a total of about $3 million worth of actual commission, because that one person, when he serviced them well and sold their property, referred them to 3 others. And then those people, he sold their property and he also got referrals from them. So it really is about sort of that spiderweb effect of, one management or one sale, whatever it is we're talking about, that one management has the potential to offer so much more value if you, service them well, if you provide them value, if you give them reasons to refer you to other people. So, just getting one potential lead out of a $4,500 investment on direct mail can actually turn the entire thing into a very, very profitable outcome.
Yeah, and I guess property management's a bit different than sales as well. It's a long-term relationship as well. There's no point sending $300 or 300 letters a week in marketing and picking up 4 or 5 managements from that, but you're losing 4 or 5 at the back end because you can't service them. So it's a really fine line of, I want to do this marketing to grow. But if you're not looking at your numbers and you're not looking at what's happening in the back end, it's a pointless waste of time. And we've really stopped all of our marketing that we've done. We've sort of stopped, and we thought, well, let's just manage the current clients we've got. And like you said, the ones we've got on board, talk to them about getting in other investment properties, or do they have a friend? And we've grown quite successfully that way. But there's only so much you can do in that sort of space. And once you've got that structure in place, you've got to start looking outside. And that's sort of where we're at the moment, is looking outside of that to do some direct marketing. Other properties that are currently for rent, like, there's the most vulnerable time for property managers. Your property's vacant. The owner wants an income. He wants a tenant. I open every letter that comes into this office, and I've got a pile that's, about yay big at the moment of other agencies' letters specifically to my investor whose property's vacant. Hi, your property's currently vacant. This is what we do. We'll offer you 3 months free management, blah, blah, blah. We secured 3 tenants last week with 4 days on market, these sort of things. All lies, I know, but it works. Should we be hitting the current vacant properties that are out there?
Look, I think, again, it comes down to, that low-hanging fruit, right? And vacant properties provide the perfect opportunity to, hit somebody while they're hurting, because behind that vacant property is a property owner that probably has a mortgage attached to that property and has payments going out every month while there's not a tenant in there. So from a business perspective, absolutely, you can see why other agencies are doing that. Now, I would like to see people take, an ethical approach to doing that, and that is to only share actual valid information. So if you have genuinely rented 3 properties in the nearby area, great, but don't make that stuff up, because you're gonna come unstuck, because at the end of the day, if you're a great property manager, which I know you are, if you've got a property that's been sitting on the market for 3, 4, 5 weeks, what is it the other agency is going to do to actually get that property rented? And that's both something to look at internally in your business and work out, is there some bottlenecks that are causing this property to be on the market for so long? Is there something wrong with the pricing? Is there something wrong with the marketing that we're doing? So there's ways to look internally, but also remember, going back to what we said before about, doing your duty as a property manager, there are also lazy agents out there which are not doing the utmost for that property owner. Yep. So whilst I understand how people feel about sign jumping and that entire process, as a good property manager, you've got to remember that you're in sort of the smaller percentile of decent property managers out there. There are a lot of people that just aren't doing doing their job properly. And I'm not talking about the individual so much. It's it's a business group. There's stressed out property managers. There's people that are overworked and all that kind of stuff. But the bottom line is, if there's an owner out there which has a property on the market and doesn't have a tenant in place, you're doing them a disservice by not contacting them if you know you can do a better job.
Yep. And on that point, the amount of people that call us saying, I'm unhappy with my property manager, they can't secure a tenant. You get the property address, you Google the property address, you look online, and you see ordinary photos, overgrown lawns, and just general presence online, which is your first point of contact for any tenant now, is poor. Like, you're killing, the property managers are killing themselves right there and then. And it's so easy for me to pick up that business. The first thing to say is, look, we'll get professional photos, we'll get a professional script, and we'll open it twice a week. And they're the ones they're really the ones that are going to be contacting me from doing direct marketing. If you got the marketing right, you got the photos, you got the script, you're opening it twice a week, and you're giving feedback to that owner's not going anywhere. It's when you're not doing that process that those owners are going to start calling.
Absolutely. And I think that's what you outline in your letter to them. When you send that landlord a letter saying that, I've noticed your property has been vacant for the last 3 weeks. Here is what we do to stop that from happening. And you talk about professional photos, floor plans, twice a week opens, and you detail those things, because if an owner is being underserviced, and they look at that and go, well, my property manager has just taken some photos with their iPhone and there's no floor plan and they're not opening it, it's by appointment only, or any of that kind of stuff, then it allows the landlord to make that decision that, well, I can clearly see everything that these guys are doing far outweighs the current service that I'm getting. Yep.
And half the time it's just telling people what you're doing. Like, you might be doing it all in the background, but if you're not telling the owner you're doing it, you're not really doing it, because they're just sitting on your ass doing nothing.
Look at any insurance ad on TV when they talk about, some of the features and benefits that they have of their insurance policy. Every other insurance policy has exactly the same thing. They're just highlighting it as a benefit because the other one doesn't. So, that's exactly what it comes down to.
Awesome. I think I've got some great information that I can push forward with. Hey, one other question. I see you online quite often now talking about agent in a box. Tell me, what is it?
Yeah, so look, Russell, we offer a number of services in the real estate space, from telemarketing, direct mail, printing, graphic design, copywriting. And what we've found is that agents go through these cycles where they sort of go up in sales and then they sort of dip off, or up in management and then they dip off. Yep. And the reason is that when the dip happens, the prospecting kicks into overdrive. So that causes them to come back up. And as soon as they're too busy, the prospecting falls off and it goes back down again. So the whole idea with PA in the box was we wanted to be able to assist agents that were in a growth stage, but maybe hit a ceiling in terms of their, potential income because they were too busy. So the whole idea behind PA in the box is you might not be at a stage where you can pay 40, 50, 60 grand for a full-time PA. This kind of plugs a gap where we look after some of the telemarketing, we look after the graphic design, we look after the printing, we look after a number of elements that an agent would hire a PA for without them having to, take on a full-time employee.
So a lot of the non-dollar productive jobs that sales agents and property managers hate doing, but unfortunately, like you said, it's when they're down this bottom line that they really need to get stuck into do it, but it takes them 2 months to do that. And then by that stage, they've had a couple of months low, and then they get a couple of listings and they're back up the top. Yeah. Exactly. Vicious cycle that we're all through. So if you can help in that area, that'd be great. And I'm guessing you could do a lot of that for PMs as well. So if I wanted to hire you to do my graphic design, to send my letters out, and then to cold call those owners, that would be a structure that we could put in place. So are you doing that for any property managers at the moment, or mainly in the sales area?
Yeah, look, mainly in the sales area, just because that's where we sort of pushed the service. I mean, look, yeah, it's sort of an easy fit for the sales arena. But having said that, it's very easy for us. We're already in talks with people outside of real estate, so mortgage brokers and accountants have heard about what we're doing and sort of see a fit for their business too. So it's very easy for us to adjust the package to be suitable for different industries and different sectors of the real estate market as well.
Yeah, more I think about it, if I'm going to be doing this marketing in the new year, getting someone like yourself doing it for me rather than doing it myself and just passing my leads off to the BDM that come in. I might have a personal chat with you after I hit the end recording to get some further information on what that's going to cost. Might be an easier way to set myself up for the next 12 months and to double the growth that we're sort of looking at doing. All right, any final tips, anything else you want to hit us with while I've got you?
No, I would really say that I think, I've owned property, investment properties in the past myself. And the biggest frustration I had was communication. Things go wrong in business, in life, and, things happen during during the tenancy and things like that. And my biggest gripe was that the communication was really poor between myself and the property manager. So the easiest way to stay ahead and to stop the leaky bucket is to communicate with your investors. So, pick up the phone, make those phone calls, have a communication plan in place. It's funny how many property managers I speak to that just work on firefighting. The only time the investor hears from them is when something goes wrong. How great would it be just to make that simple phone call? I think you said you got 600 managements, right?
Yeah, roughly.
So over the course of 12 weeks, that's 50 a week that you would have to speak to in order to say, look, just touching base, wanted to let you know everything's fine with the rental, your tenants are happy, nothing's gone wrong, just wanted to let you know.
Well, we've organised certain triggers that come along within a tenancy that you need to have these conversations. Lease renewals is one of them. So many agents just flick an email out saying your lease is up for renewal. What are you doing? Well, I send that email because I like it in writing to give that owner a phone call, touch base, how's things going? You're happy with what we're doing? I hope you got my email regarding the lease renewal. This is what's going on in the market, and just having that personal conversation. And we've picked 2 or 3 areas within our business that we pick up and have that conversation. And that's sort of our touch points throughout the year. And we've found that by doing that, it relieves a lot of that stress from them not hearing from us for so often. And,
Absolutely.
Routine inspections is one of those as well. Because at the end of the day, property managers, we are communicators, Yes, we deal with maintenance, but we don't pick up a hammer and go out to properties and fix things. Our job is to communicate with both the tradesperson, the tenant, and the owner regarding those issues. And if you're not doing that, you're not doing your job. So it's
100%. And one of my favorite sayings is price is only an issue in the absence of value. And I think it's really important, like you say, your value as a property manager is your ability to manage that property and manage the communication. So if you're not doing that, if you're not showing the value in those areas, then you're going to get beaten on price. But it's only an issue about price when you're not showing the value that you provide for what it is you're charging. So if property managers can work on that communication, I think that, like you say, don't just focus on new business coming in, focus on the business you already have as well.
Excellent. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Carl from Agent Mail, if you've got any questions, hit him up. Great resource. And if you're looking to grow in 2018, definitely a guy to get in touch with and see what he can do to help you. Thanks, Carl, for your time.
Thanks, Russell. All the best.
Cheers.